Hi. Hello. Good morning, everyone. My name is Pedro Costa. I'm going to speak a little bit about our expertise and our experience in taking deep tech startups to the market and what could be the blueprint for that. But let me introduce me first. So my name is Pedro Costa, head of Growth Director EMEA. We work with big corporations and startups across United States, Latin America, and Europe, basically to try to foster collaboration between these large corporations and the startups. The world we live today, as we all know and has been spoken here many, many times, is a world where technology is evolving faster than ever, but it's also a world where commercialization of this technology, especially deep tech technology, is also harder than ever. In this talk, I'm going to explain why deep tech is so crucial for the world right now, and why collaboration is key to unlock the deep tech potential, especially here in Europe. So this isn't just a talk about innovation, it's how about we build innovation that serves the people and not so much about the market, and not also so much about the patents and the papers of scientific research. So I would like to claim that deep foundational innovation, deep foundational technology won't happen in garages, like many times it's sold to us. In fact, the deep tech innovation happens in labs, happens in clean rooms, happens in universities, on the back of PhDs, and on the back of a lot of perseverance and collaboration between the science and the market as well. So this is not a world, deep tech is not a world of minimum viable products very quickly launched into the market. This is science first and market later. So if we look at these companies here that I put it on the slides, so Google, Moderna, OpenAI, they all came from universities. They all came from research centers and not so much. Well, basically, they are not an app developed on a garage that has all the merit, of course, but it's not really foundational, does not help the world to move a step further. So looking at the world's most difficult challenges right now, the world poverty, climate change, cybersecurity, and privacy, we are sure that regular innovation won't help to solve this. In many times, actually, they get it worse. So we need deep tech, mission-driven technology. But we also know, as a fact, that deep tech is also the hardest to commercialize. So what is really the 5 pillars of success for deep tech innovation? I call this the pentagon of success for deep tech innovation. And the beauty of deep tech is that you have to have in place these 5 pillars, and if one of them is not there, the whole thing falls apart. So that's the beauty, but also the fragility of deep tech innovation. So the 5 key success drivers for deep tech are a strong scientific and talent density, long-term capital, because we are not expecting big returns in 1 year like all the other VC of regular innovation expects. Deep tech, it's a long ball game. It's a different animal, let's call it. We need to have a good tech-to-market strategy. We have also to have protective modes, IP, patents filled out. So this takes time, obviously. And we need access to infrastructure, not only to manufacture this technology, but also to test it on a large scale before it goes to the market. So let's have a look how we stand in terms of Europe on these 5 pillars, let's call it. And here start the good news. If we look at the first point, which is talent density in Europe, and if we understand that Europe holds 40% of the universities, regarding technology. We have 40% of the top 10 universities in the world. So we have Oxford, we have Cambridge, we have ETH in Zurich, we have Imperial College of London, and we have many, many more that are not here on this slide. It is also true that we export in Europe thousands of PhDs every year. But one thing is also true, is that if we had the other pillars in Europe, if we had a strong ecosystem, they won't be traveling to US or to China. They will stay in Europe. They will build companies in Europe. And another information that is not here is that Europe produces almost half of the world's total PhDs. Maybe not, we don't have so much accurate data from China, but still it's a large number. So let's look at the second pillar, which is available funding to deep tech. And here we talked a lot today, yesterday, we will talk still today about the problems of funding in Europe and how are not the funding so much available to fund innovation in Europe. And that's all true, but it's also true that public institutions are doing a tremendous work and tremendous good work in terms of funding innovation in Europe. European Innovation Fund, through European Innovation Council, through EIT, they are supporting innovation in Europe. And also true that VCs are coming more and more. It's also true, however, that from 2021 up until now, we saw a decrease in the total amount invested in startups, especially the regular type of companies that get funding. But that's also true that when we move and see the percentage of funding from the total VC money that is going to deep tech is increasing. So despite the total amount of funding decreasing, what we see now is a trend for VC to invest on deep tech. And this means that we are betting big on what we, as Europe, are good, in that we can have a strong saying in the world, which is deep tech. So let's have a look at one more piece of good news before we move into the not so good news. So accordingly to European Patent Officer, and we had here the chief economist just now, so out of almost 200,000 applications for patents in the world, Europe has 44%. So basically this means that the output of the total output from the scientific world, almost half of it comes from Europe. Again, China, and this comes on a note on the European Patent Officer website, that China records are not so accurate because they do not share the numbers in a so open way, but still, if you look at US compared to Europe, you will see that US has around 24%, and Europe, we have 44% of that, so it's almost the double. So now comes let's say, the not so good news for Europe. So why we are getting behind, I would say it's two main things. One is definitely very good tech-to-market strategy, and the other one is access to infrastructure, even for scaling or for testing, basically. So let's say that, and rewind a bit, Europe has the brains. We are leader in patents and in scientific outputs. We have solid, I would say, public funding, and in terms of private funding, we are getting there. And we have the ideas, we have the labs, and we have a clear sense of mission, climate change, healthcare, energy, you name it. So here's a tough question, and this is the question I will try to answer. Why aren't we leading the world in deep tech commercialization? And I would say it's not a lack of innovation, and I kind of prove it that I think it's a lack of connection. Connection between countries in Europe. It's a lack of bridges between the lab and the factory, the researcher and the entrepreneur, and between the invention and the market. And that's where collaboration becomes not just important, but essential. If we go a little bit behind, what do these 5 pillars have all in common? And I would say that they could all profit from the lever that is collaboration. So let's see now what are the good examples in the world, and especially in Europe, regarding deep tech. So how can we somehow get a blueprint for success in deep tech? So let's see this company. This company is Helsing. Helsing was founded in 2021 in Germany and raised immediately 100 million euros. It's crazy, but it's true. And by 2022, they partnered with Rheinmetall, the German defense company, and later with Saab. And by 2022, actually, they won a contract with the German Ministry of Defense worth millions of euros. By 2024, after being awarded this contract, they raised over 400 million euros. So I would say that the partnership, the collaboration between the startup and the companies or the corporates Rheinmetall and Saab was essential for them to get funding and essential for them to start producing and output innovation. What do you think? And this is not just a startup story, it's a systemic collaboration across science, startup, corporate, and the public sector. Because you could have the best science in the world, if that science don't produces any output, any tangible output, any benefit for society, well, it is as good as its paper it's written on. Another company founded in 2023, this is 2 years ago, Mistral AI from France. And by early 2024, they had already partnered with Microsoft, with IBM, with BNP Paribas, with Capgemini. And a year later, they were valued at 6 billion euros. So this company, for sure, was not built on isolation. This was built through ecosystem orchestration and through creating a lot of leverage between all the partnerships. And now, of course, one example that all of us know very well, BioNTech, founded in 2008 in Germany. They spent 10 years developing the mRNA technology for vaccines. Then they spent 10 years developing the patent and the technology that was pretty robust. By 2018, they partnered with Pfizer. By 2019, we know what happened. So COVID-19 hit, and BioNTech had the breakthrough. But imagine that BioNTech didn't have the cooperation with Pfizer. It was just another, let's say, project or just another paper in university. How could they deploy in 1 year a full ready-to-market vaccine to be implemented, to be given to millions and millions of people without Pfizer? That was completely impossible. So in less than 1 year, they did what normally would take a decade to do. And this was not just another business partnership. It was an historical collaboration between Europe science and US manufacturing possibility. So we are sure today that without BioNTech, we wouldn't have the vaccine for COVID-19, but without Pfizer, that vaccine wouldn't reach so many people so fast. And I want to say a story that I want to share with you that this is not a fairy tale. This is a blueprint. This happens every day. We in Beta E, we see this happening every day with lots of startups, this kind of skyrocketing growth. This happens. And I'm going to give you an example that I consider to be a little bit more modest, but from modest has nothing, to be honest. We have this program that we are very happy to be part of, which is called Free Electrons. And Free Electrons is the biggest energy transition open innovation program in the world. And we are very proud of working together with 7 utilities from all over the world. So we have JERA from Japan, we have EDP from Portugal, ESP from Ireland, and E.ON from Germany, and we have also Hydro-Quebec, so there's a lot of companies. These are companies that have the same challenges all over the world that join forces in order to find solutions for their particular problems, but also to share some risks and exchange knowledge around the world's biggest challenges. So let's see this company, Power to Hydrogen, that was officially launched in 2020. By 2021, they developed its proprietary anion exchange membrane electrolyzer to produce hydrogen. By 2022, they turned into Europe. So they came from US to Europe, did the opposite way that typically the startups in Europe do. That they go to US looking for money, they came to Europe looking for purpose. And the purpose was the energy transition mission that we are so interested on and putting so much effort. So by 2022, they partnered with Enel, the Italian company. By 2022, they also won the free electrons contest. That is just another contest. If you see, there are a lot of it in Europe, but they actually won it. By 2024, they actually raised money from the companies that were funding the program, the Open Innovation Program, and by 2024, and by 2025, they raised another 20 million from 2 other corporates that they are partnering with. And this year, they are building the first real industrial scale prototype of the anion exchange membrane in Antwerp. So this happens. Again, it's not at the scale of the other examples, but it's at a very nice scale. And I would say it's very success example. So here is basically what we do. I would put here for you the benefits of partnering between corporates and startups. You know probably better than I do. And I would recommend you to look for entities that provide these kind of programs, because they are really beneficial for startups and for corporations. This is not just about marketing or innovation theater. Innovation happens there, and scaling happens in these kind of programs. So let me end with this. In Europe, we have the science, we have the people, and we have the mission. And now we need to have the method. And the method to put that science into the market, for me, is collaboration. Because collaboration is not just how we innovate, it's how we defend democracy, it's how we defend the planet, it's how we reinvent the industry. So let's stop saying who will lead deep tech and why Europe is not leading deep tech, and let's do it. Let's do it in the European way together. Thank you very much.